And
Can you just kind of introduce yourself and tell people
sure.
why you're running?
Okay. I'm Nadine Bane, and I live here in Scotia, and that's where we're at in our little park. And I'm 64 years old, and I am running to be your next state legislature for District 41 because I believe that we need to have good legislation passed for our senior citizens, for our veterans, for our children, and for rural and urban families.
So, is this something you'd considered for a while? Why at this time do you feel like you want to become a state legislator and head off to Lincoln?
Okay, how do I explain this? For over 30 years, I've lived here in District 41 for 35 years. And for at least 30 of those years, I lived in Greeley County, which was a Democratic county. You couldn't, if you were a Republican, you literally couldn't have a meeting. You couldn't get elected at the county courthouse. You were so anyway. So 3 years ago, finally, I went around and organized Greeley County, and so now we have a Greeley County GOP party here. And with doing that, our courthouse has changed. The people in Greeley County, we went from 82% Democrat county to a 62% Republican now. So it's more of an even. So now I know that I have the county behind me. Before, being a registered Republican, you did not have the county behind you, didn't have the people behind you because they pretty much you vote your political affiliation. So finally, I'm able to get out there, and I don't have a problem with either side. I have no problem. At yeah, I know you're going to be editing this. So I think it's very important. I've been in politics for a long time. I've been vocal for a long time. I've been involved in my communities, whether or not it's been Scotia, Ord, North Loop, Wood River. I have been involved in my communities. I have been an outspoken person. But when you do not have your county backing you, it just doesn't seem like you can go forward with a political.
Okay. So that's why the political climate is such that you can do this at this point now.
I feel like yes, I feel like it's neutral now.
Can we talk a little bit about legislative priorities when it comes to policy things?
Okay.
What kinds of bills, what kinds of issues do you see yourself if you go to Lincoln that you would be the kinds of things that you would work on?
Well, first of all, I'm not too sure what's going to be coming up out of committee. But what comes out of committee will be the bills that we will be working on. So I can't second guess what will be coming out of committee. But if there are bills that will help us, seniors or veterans, we've got to make sure there's no CRT passed in our schools. We've got to protect our children. We need to protect the residents of Nebraska. We also need to start budgeting to where the funds are not just being spent in the Omaha and Lincoln area. We are needing funds out here. I can take, for instance, Highway 183. It has got to be the most dangerous highway that I have been on. 281 and Highway 11 are really nice highways. But there are people in this district, truckers, farmers, ranchers who travel that highway. It's falling apart. There's no shoulders. It's dangerous. So that's infrastructure. We need help out there. We need to think about also our property taxes. And I hope to see some kind of resolve on property taxes.
So what I hear I haven't heard the word conservative yet, but would it be fair to say you consider yourself a conservative?
Yes, very much so.
Okay. Just wanted to make that explicitly so. Can we drill down a little bit? You talked about protecting kids and protecting
Yes.
Nebraskans. In what way? Can you explain a little more specific? What do you mean by that then?
Well, with children, the SEC, it was a bill that the NTTS was trying to pass. It's sitting on the shelf still. It hasn't been taken off the shelf. And this is the us, them, they. That particular bill is still sitting there, waiting to be brought back up to committee. So that's a particular bill we need to be watching for. Make sure that does not get through. We need to protect our children.
NTT.
Uh,
What was what was that you
Nebraska Teachers Association.
Oh, the NSEA.
Yeah, NE.
That one.
See it. Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
Okay. Just making sure I understood what we were saying.
Okay.
Okay. About every town I go to, they say housing, childcare, workforce. Are those issues you hear, and in what ways do you think the state legislature can get involved in some of those things?
Okay. With childcare, we've got a new childcare facility in Spalding, Broken Bow. Those are pretty far out. Albion. We have home child care here that's state registered in our town. Where we don't have, we've got a lot of younger people that have children, but they're going into private homes.
Okay.
So one example for child care, Steve, would be like over in Greeley. Greeley has a nursing home, which is now an assisted living facility. One half of that building is unused. It's not used. They only have residents for one half of the building. So maybe there can be an idea placed out there to where a child care facility could come in. They're already state requirements are already met. There's a kitchen there. There's a dining. You have young mothers there with children. They could bring their children into the child care facility and work there. You could get more people into the employment area, the service, if they had somewhere to go with their children. And yet here Greeley has this now assisted living, half of a building that could fit the needs of a child care center. I think there's a lot of towns like that that have assisted living or retirement that have closed down. Okay, we did have a big flush of nursing homes that closed down in small rural Nebraska.
Right. Generally, how do you feel Governor Pillen has done, the kinds of bills that he's worked on? Are they generally things you support, or are there some areas where you would maybe draw some distinctions, or how generally would you feel about it?
I think he's been a really good governor. Nobody, I'm out with the people. Nobody really has any complaints. I think this last bill, 262, that got passed, although the gal that runs the Department of Agriculture said that she was not going to enforce it. I struggle with that it was part of the Christmas tree bill. I struggle with that bill because it takes a small business owner, and we have lots of small business owners, and now for them to sell their honey or their milk or their beef or some type of vegetation, they will have to pay for another permit and for extra schooling to do something that they've been doing all along.
Is this the bill they call it kind of the cottage food thing?
Yes,
Okay.
yes it is.
Just Yeah, I remember that one. Okay.
But this was an amendment that was added to the bill, and 47 of the 49 senators jumped onto this and said, "Oh, yeah, passed it." I wish that they would quit passing the Christmas tree bills in Lincoln. That hurts a lot of people because we don't know what's on there until after they pass them.
Sure. Speaking of just kind of the legislative process, should you be elected, would you have any preference on what kind of committees you might serve on? You talked about committees being important.
The first committee that I would like to be placed on would be the Veterans Committee.
Okay.
My son is a 20-year veteran of military service. I'm a military mom. Being that I'm not experienced in every field here in our lives, I do have a Gold Star mom that will be my advisor. So I've visited with her so many times out of Spalding, and I've said, Darla, if I get elected and I do get on the Veterans Committee, and there comes up some questions, can I count you on as an advisor? And she was just beaming with pride, that I even asked. So that's one committee. The other one would be health. I do have 12 and a half years in home health.
Oh, okay.
I have 17 and a half years in the trucking industry and a little over 12 years in home health. So that would be another. And eventually, I've been told that a junior senator cannot ask to be on ag, that you have to wait till your following year. This is what I've been told. I don't know if it's true.
Okay.
But the following year, you can get appointed to ag, and I would like to get appointed because we are in a ag district. Trucking, school teachers, ag.
Sure.
That's
Sure.
what we are here.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on how we can grow communities and support businesses and small businesses and bring people into the 41st district?
Well, one of our biggest downfalls is the lack of housing. Take, for instance, in my small town of Scotia, I believe we have one house available.
Sure.
We don't have housing for school teachers. They're living in St. Paul and Ord and traveling here. We just don't have the housing. So for our economic development, I believe that's the people in our communities. That actually is the people. That's our farmers, our ranchers, our school teachers, our truckers. They are our economic development. So what do we need to do? We need to keep our property taxes. We need to keep them low so that the money that they save will go back into the communities. That's to build our communities, we've got to have money coming back into our communities.
Hang on just a second. I'm just going to make sure my camera's still working here. I need to occasionally look since I'm my own camera.
Are you enjoying yourself so far?
Yeah, we're doing pretty good here. I can't talk to you forever. I need to keep it somewhat brief here.
It's okay.
I don't know. Any other, I guess on paper, somebody might look and say, well, the three candidates kind of look like they stand for the same things. They all kind of share conservative values. If somebody's not made up their mind yet and they're going to the polls on election day and they're deciding, well, which circle should I fill in next to the name? Why should they vote for you, Nadine?
Well, I have a lifetime of experience, and that does make a big difference with candidates. I've worked in the communities. I've worked in the politics. I've been an event organizer. I have went behind with national and our state candidates, helping them get elected. I am a person that wants to be a steward for those in my district. So if I do get elected in our district of 41, I will make a promise to the people here that when I'm not in session, I will be coming back to the major towns, to all the GOPs, and even the Democratic local parties, and I will come to their meetings and I will tell them what's in committee, what's coming out of committee, what has failed and why it has failed, and what do you need me to bring to Lincoln that will work across Nebraska. We got to remember, be mindful of that whatever bill is brought to Lincoln should be a bill that works across Nebraska, not just for one certain area.
Sure.
So that's, and vote for me.
Oh, I didn't ask, but are you currently employed or are you retired?
I am retired.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm able to do this 100% of my time. I know that's,
Yeah.
so far I have driven 12,500 logged miles in this district. I've handed out 6,000 of my postcards, not mailed, handed out. That means I've talked to you. I've been to events and pancake feeds and nut feeds and you name it. I've been to it. Carnivals to open houses. I've been to anywhere where there's been groups of people in our district.